Good evening, everybody, and welcome to North East Lincolnshire Council's Cabinet Facebook Live. This is the second of these that we've held. The last one was about 6 months ago. We thought that was pretty successful, so we wanted to repeat the event. My name's Councillor Philip Jackson. I'm leader of the council, and I'm accompanied this evening by my 7 cabinet members. Now we'll introduce those to you in a moment. In addition to being leader of the council, I'm also portfolio holder for economy, regeneration, devolution and skills. Sitting opposite me, I've got Councillor Stan Shreve. He's deputy leader of the council and portfolio holder for health, wellbeing and adult social care. Next to him is Councillor Ron Shepherd, portfolio holder for safer and stronger communities. Then we've got Councillor Steve Harness, portfolio holder for finance, resources and assets. Then Councillor Hayden Dawkins, who is culture, heritage and the visitor economy. Then moving around to this side of the council, Councillor Stuart Swinburne, who has the portfolio holder for portfolio for housing, infrastructure and transport. Next to him, Councillor Margaret Cracknell, who is portfolio holder for children and education. And then last but not least, immediately next to me, Councillor Henry Hudson, who has the environment and net zero portfolio. And we've got a variety of questions tonight. Some of them have been sent in beforehand. Some of them will be ones that you've asked during the hour that we've got tonight. But before I move over to the questions, I just want to make the point that although currently we don't have any on adult social care or children's services, those two services between them consume about 2/3 of the council's resources. So a huge amount of finance resource goes into those. So please bear that in mind. Michelle Laylor, who's our head of communications, will be asking the question tonight. So I'll hand over to Michelle for the first question.
Thank you, Leader. Just to let you know, we will try and prioritise as many of the live questions as we can. And there have been a couple of personal questions or more private questions that have been asked, so we didn't think it was appropriate to have to say them in a public forum. Just to assure everybody, we will be answering you privately, and we will be answering any questions that we don't get through tonight, because we have got quite a lot. So I'm going to start. Actually, there's a lot of big issues going at the moment, showing how busy we all are. 2 of them are obviously the libraries and Corporation Road Bridge. So I'd like to start with the libraries. We've had 2 or 3 questions already in about this. One came in from Anil Cartwright just earlier this evening. Libraries are our buildings, public assets held in trust for the community, not simply buildings that house books. What is the council doing to protect and invest in them for future generations? As councillors, how are you fulfilling your role as stewards of these vital spaces on our behalf? And we've also had 2 questions relating to funding from the Towns Fund, which was initially allotted to the library, well, the library building, not the library, to develop the 2 top floors as a green skills hub. That money has been diverted to Freshney Place, to the leisure and development scheme there. And we've had a couple of questions about that. One saying, why is that not being spent on the library building? Why has it gone to the leisure scheme, especially when there is a 2 million backlog of repairs and no money in the budget for the library? Are you not condemning the library in favour of a cinema? And also about some money that was used from that before it was allotted to that Freshney Place scheme. So I'm going to hand over to Councillor Hayden Dawkins, who is portfolio holder in that particular area.
Thank you, Michelle, and good evening, everybody that's watching. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you I'll give you a background as to why we're in the situation we're in at the moment. So, I mean, the temporary closure of the Central Library was due to a water leak, which has affected some of the asbestos in the building. So we've been left with no choice but to close the building for the safety of the workers in there, as well as the public visiting, and that is important. You know, it is our intention to restore library services within the borough as quick as possible, and we are looking at alternative locations for a pop-up library. as we speak, and that will be announced in the forthcoming weeks of where that location is going to be. Obviously, we had to take into account various things looking at location. One is that we ideally need to use one of our buildings, because obviously, you know, to keep the cost down for the taxpayer, and we also need it to be accessible by everybody, so it needs to be close to public transport, and that is important. You know, we've got no intention of getting rid of library services in North East Lincolnshire. We're looking to enhance them, and that's a really important thing. So as far as the money is concerned that's been mentioned, there was some money allocated for a green hub at the top of the library building. Unfortunately, we couldn't find anybody that really wanted to take that on and develop that project. So we was allowed to move that across to Freshney Place. Now, there was obviously some costs involved before that move took place, which was reflected in the £300,000 discrepancy, as some people put it. That was obviously, you know, designs and project costs and that being set aside and that sort of thing. So, you know, it is transparent, and I'd just like to emphasise the fact that we are in a consultation, and, you know, this doesn't affect anything to do with the consultation whatsoever. It is important that we ask everybody to go online, put their feelings forward, and that way everybody gets a say in what goes on in the future. Thank you.
As leader of the council, Councillor Jackson, I'm not sure whether you want to add anything before we move on.
Yes, I do. Yes. I mean, of course, as a council, we do have a legal obligation to provide a library service, and we do want to make sure we're providing the best library service that we can within, you know, a reasonable cost for the people of North East Lincolnshire. And this is the whole thinking behind the current consultation process that we're going through. We want to hear everybody's views. We want to be open and transparent. I think the library consultation documentation does make it very clear what the challenges and opportunities are for the library service. There are a number of proposals in there, but that doesn't mean that's what we're going to be doing. No decisions have been made. There will be a full and transparent decision-making process. The whole of the Cabinet will be involved in that. There will be a report to Cabinet. There will be full involvement of the Council's scrutiny process, and all the documentation and decision making will be in public and will be open and transparent. So please go online, have your say in the consultation. It's open until the 9th of July, so you've got another month, and we will be looking at all the responses we've received in detail and trying to provide a library service going forward that gives the best opportunity for as many people as possible to benefit from libraries across North East Lincolnshire.
Thank you, Leader. I think we're going to keep you busy. I'm going to stay in the town centre now, because we've talked about some money's being diverted into the Freshney Place development, and we've had a live question come in saying, is there a final cost yet for Freshney Place redevelopment? As the last I heard was it was 50 million plus with no final figures. And somebody wanted a general update on the Freshney Place leisure scheme as well. So I don't know whether you're able to answer that one as well, Leader, please.
Yes, thank you for that question. Very important question. The redevelopment of Freshney Place is the largest regeneration project we've had in North East Lincolnshire. The budget that we agreed for it at last December's full council meeting was up to £50 million. There is no indication so far that we're going to exceed that amount. We expect to be able to deliver the project within that level of funding. The project so far is also on track from a timing viewpoint. You will have probably seen from the coverage that's been in the media that we are now in the process of demolition of the old Market Hall. We're doing some work on what was the old British Home Stores building to convert that into the new Market Hall, and progress is on track.
Thank you very much, Leader. It's a very busy one tonight, but I'm just going to stick with this one on a pre-prep question, and this is probably one for Councillor Harness, whose portfolio holder includes finance, who talks about, probably not Freshney Place, but the whole of the town centre, The question is, why are we not lowering retail unit rates to encourage more companies to come to town? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for that question. I am not convinced that lowering retail rates, unit rates within the town centre will encourage more retail companies to come to town. If we take Freshney Place as an example, we currently have an occupancy rate of 95%. So that tells us that the level of charges is not a detriment to the town centre. To emphasise that the rents are at a correct level, we have experienced retailers renewing their leases at the end of their term, not going away, but renewing their leases, so they have confidence. And it also emphasises that the level of rent is set quite well. We do have issues with empty properties on Victoria Street, but these properties are not under the ownership of any LC. What we would rather see is ensuring that we have a vibrant and varied town centre that attracts footfall, thereby increasing spend in the town centre so businesses can thrive. Simply lowering rates and charges is not the answer here. If we have vibrancy and variety, we will see businesses want to move here and stay here and invest. Alongside the large regeneration schemes happening in the Grimsby Town Centre, you will have seen lots of different things happening on the High Street. New planters, for example, and the living wall. ASB related crime is down. We are about to start a scheme in the Grimsby Town Centre with landlords to offer help addressing these issues. The High Street Revival Scheme, which will offer capital funding to help bring down properties back into use, and dedicated business support package for the new occupants. And remember, the regeneration schemes that we support will attract footfall. The new business hub, the youth zone, and the 120 new homes, along with the leisure and market food hall scheme. So I think we have a vibrant town centre, and I think it's something we can all support and look forward to completion. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you, Councillor Harness. I will try and make this the last question on the town centre, but it's obviously a very big issue. I'll just move on to Councillor Ron Shepherd, whose portfolio holder includes Stronger and Safer Communities, because Councillor Harness mentioned about ASB and crime levels, and there was a question come in about ASB and crime and how are we tackling them. And Councillor Shepherd has been quite active, well, very active in this area. So I'd like to answer this question.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for the question that's been raised. What I'd like to see, like we'd all like to see, is a town centre where we can all go, feel safe, and enjoy the experience. It's something that we're working towards. We're working towards it robustly. The figures that we've released recently as part of some of the operations that are ongoing with our partners are producing sterling results. Crime is down 5%. Antisocial behaviour, stalking and harassment is down 30%. That's encouraging. That's showing that we are doing things in the right order. It's encouraging people to feel safe to come back into the town centre. It's not a quick fix. These operations that we have in place with our partners are long term. You will have seen more days of action in and around the town centre, and the fruits of those days of action are we're seeing more and more arrests and people being convicted of offences. What I want to reassure you all is that we will continue to push for a high result of convictions for those perpetrators of antisocial behaviour. Our mandate when we came into power was to clean up the town centre. It's what you wanted, it's what you asked us to do, it's what we've delivered, and we will continue to deliver it. You will see further operations that will be carried out in and around the town centre. And once the town centre has been completed, then we will move on to other areas of the borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. I'm going to put Councillor Henry Hudson on the spot a little bit now because we've got a live question, and I'm not sure if it's not much of a planning question as it is an environmental one, but one of the live questions that have come in is, will you stop the solar farms? They're an absolute eyesore. So I don't know whether we can answer that now or you want to come back to it later, but I'll leave you with that one for a moment.
They might be an eyesore, Michelle, thank you for the question, but they're a really important part of this area's infrastructure and job creation. We're trying to embrace green energy for the investment and job creation that it creates. Now, I don't have it in my power to stop this. It will always be a planning committee decision, and that is 12 members of the council who will make the final decision on each and every planning application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to return to the pre-sent-in questions now, and I think I'm going to raise the issue of Corporation Road Bridge. Obviously, it's been in the news quite a lot. We've had a couple of questions come in. One, just a general update, if there is one you can give us. And the other one, which I think Councillor Swinburne wants to answer, is his portfolio. Why haven't you resigned over the bridge fiasco? If not, why not?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. First of all, I'll take the one on the briefing note about Corporation Bridge in general, and it's better to note why Corporation Bridge is so important and why it needs to be in full working condition. Corporation Road Bridge is a Grade 2 structure of significant historical importance and one of only 25 bascule lifting bridges remaining in England. For these reasons, restoring it in full working order is our priority, and the actions taken this week were completely focused upon achieving that ambition. What it has been realised as well that this is an actual bridge has got to be in full working order due to statute by government, and that's why we have to do it, even though it's got to be made aware that we can open it a couple of times a year. Actually, why the contract is at me now, the work to complete and restore the Grade 2 listed bridge started in February of 2023, as everyone knows, and it was expected to last for only a year to February 2024. But soon after that workers arrived on site, the bridge was found to be in a worse condition than expected. Engineers that we had on site set about carrying out a meticulous assessment of the entire structure to identify what work was needed to make the bridge safe and to secure its future. Whilst this assessment has been taking place, workers have also been carrying out repairs. Earlier this year, the council was presented with a new design proposal for the lifting span of bridge. This was span 4 of the design, and this is by far the most complex part of the repair work. In May of this year, we terminated the contract with Spencer Group, the principal contractor appointed to the project, and we are now seeking a new specialist engineering firm to carry out the remainder of the works. Now, the reason why the contract with Spencer's was actually terminated, and that's because of the recent activities in the last couple of weeks. It is our absolute belief that the termination of the previous contract was necessary based on recently received information on potential further delays and increased costs. We are unable to share any more details at this stage due to commercial sensitivity, as we now seek another contractor at pace to complete the work. Work has stopped on the project and will this later update. Work has paused on the project, however, steps have been and will continue to be taken to minimise any further delays. For example, we have engaged with the existing relevant subcontractors to ensure matters such as scaffolding and security remains in place, and this will enable a new contractor to mobilise as quickly as possible. We are now seeking another contractor at pace to complete the works. As soon as we're able to give a full timetable, however, taking continued advice from a nationally recognised consultancy and leading industry expert, we are confident that we can move on and look forward to a completion of the work and reopening of what will be a centrepiece of Grimsby Town Centre regeneration. We will release more information on the next steps, including timings, as soon as we are able. But again, we stress that we believe that the work can be completed earlier than the extended date we had received from the previous contractor. On the other side of it is the question that's coming now of why I have not resigned over this, what people are calling a fiasco. But first of all, I would like to say by offering a sincere apology to residents, commuters, and especially to the local businesses affected by the ongoing delays to the Corporation Bridge refurbishment project. This has taken far longer than anyone anticipated, and I fully recognise the disruption it's caused to daily routines, to trade, and to confidence in the project. I understand how frustrating this has been, and believe me, I share that frustration. I also understand the public frustration around the delays and the rising costs of the Corporation Bridge refurbishment. Let me be absolutely clear on this. I take those concerns seriously, but I also want to be honest about how local government works. As an elected councillor, I myself rely on professional officers for technical advice, project timelines, and budget forecasts. Those are not just for this council, but they are systems that's in place across all councils. And it's right that we trust the experts we employ to guide complex infrastructure projects. It's been well documented for calls for my resignation, and they've made the headlines. But that won't solve the problem. I was elected to serve the people of this community, not to walk away when challenges arise. My responsibility is to stay in post, ask the hard questions, and ensure lessons are learned and processes are improved. What we need is a commitment to transparency, accountability, and learning. Not a blame game. No one should be blamed. We operate in a no-blame culture because pointing fingers, forgive the pun, doesn't rebuild bridges or protect taxpayers. Better systems and oversight do. I was elected to serve, not to sidestep challenges, and I remain focused on delivering that. And again, I must emphasise I'm sorry for the disruption this has caused, and I thank the community for its patience during what has been a very challenging time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swinburne. As leader, would you like to add anything else, Councillor Jackson, before we move on?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. And I fully understand why there have been so many questions on this issue. It is clearly a major issue and is causing disruption in the town centre. And again, I'm happy to apologise as leader of the council, for those delays, but we do need to make progress with the project as quickly as we can. I mean, it's interesting that it's only 3 weeks since we had the annual general meeting of the council. And at the annual general meeting of the council, there was no challenge from any other councillor to me as leader of the council. There was no challenge to Councillor Swinburne as the portfolio holder for transport. And I think that shows that the council has confidence in us to be able to take this project forward and ensure that it is satisfactorily completed. I think it's true to say that with all heritage assets like Corporation Road Bridge, and bear in mind the fact is 100 years old this year, these sort of assets do deteriorate, and it's actually impossible to tell how serious the deterioration is until you actually get on site and start to dismantle parts of the bridge, start to grip blast other parts and take the paint away. So it did come as a surprise as to how serious some of the corrosion and degeneration of the bridge was, but that was impossible to determine in the initial surveys. And I just want to emphasise that I do think we're doing the right thing in terminating the contract with Spencer Group and looking at an alternative to finish off the bridge, because they were talking about a significant further escalation of the cost and extending the completion date well out into next year. And we are confident that we can complete it quicker than that with a new contractor. For me, the whole thing was really epitomised when Spencer said they were baffled as to why we were terminating the contract. If a contractor who's escalating prices and extending out completion dates is baffled as to why we are terminating their contract, I think that clearly indicates that we're doing the right thing.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I'm going to move on to something that's kept Councillor Shepherd quite busy over the last week, and that's travellers. We've had one live question come in. Can we do something to prevent travellers settling at Wylsby Woods in the future? And we've had a general question for a traveller's stance or update. We've also had another question. In your recent released 10-year planning boundaries plan, it mentions you have to find 4 new permanent travellers sites. Any further progress on these yet as time is going by? I'm not sure I know about that, but Councillor Shepherd, you may be able to, or we can find out. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. If I can take that last question last, I've some further news. What I'll start by saying is that transient travellers came into the borough a few weeks ago. 3 different parties appeared over a period of time. So we're in a unique position that we'd not been in that position before. What I want to try and get across to you is that we have strict legal procedures that we have to adhere to when we're dealing with transient travellers. First of all, we have to establish that they're on North East Links Council land and that they are there without consent. Once we've established that, we then are able to go to a magistrate's court and obtain notice for them to move. Once that notice has been obtained and served on them, then they have a period of 24 hours to move. If they fail to move, then we have to go back to the magistrate's court to get a further order for eviction. That can take up to 7 days. That's why we generally see them arrive on a Friday and they're not gone while the following week. A good ploy by transient travellers. Our staff are really professional in the way that they deal with them. It's an intimidating position to be in. These people, some of them aren't friendly at all. Credit to our staff, we have our legal packages ready to go as soon as we are notified that they arrive. In conjunction with the police and other agencies, we're able to secure the sites that they have entered. Invariably, they enter by cutting down posts and doing other damage. Sadly, we're unable to evidence that. If we could evidence it, then the police would take some action. It is a concern as to what they actually get up to when they're here. And I want to brief you on this, that those travellers who move to the area, who go out to find work during the day and go to your house and they say, I'll chop your trees down or I'll fix your roof. They produce no paperwork, no waste transfer certificates, and they take the waste away and then fly tip it somewhere. You as the homeowner and the producer of that waste have a responsibility, a legal responsibility to ensure that that waste is disposed of correctly. Therefore, you may face prosecution if it's found to be fly tips. You need to remember that when these people come knocking on your doors. We are working with partner agents, as I've said. I have a meeting next week with the police. We're already working with council officers to look at how we can not necessarily fortify our parks and open spaces, but there are key areas where the transient travellers seem to aim for each time. The first group that came, we were briefed of their arrival. They were then asked to move through. We served notice on them. And we offered them Orwell Street as a temporary stop-off. They refused to go. They didn't want to go to Orwell Street. They decided to go to Victor Street. They were then joined by others who came in. This was the second party, a particularly aggressive party who were there pre-Appleby show. They're obviously working their way up towards Appleby. They wouldn't engage with us, and there were several times they were very threatening. They were then joined by a third party, and so in the process we were issuing 3 different warrants from the magistrates' court, so we had to go back every time. They finally decided to leave, and when they left, I was on site the following morning, and I thanked the residents and the friends of Wylsby Woods who were able to clear up some of the debris that they'd left. They scattered nails all over the car park. They were a thoroughly horrible lot to deal with this particular time. What we're looking at now is ways that we can deter them from visiting the borough. One is don't give them any work. If there's no work, they will not come to the borough. The second one is to stop them having easy access to our parks and open spaces. And the third way that we want to look at is to make it more difficult for them to be able to just carry out any activity that they like. We had one situation where they were riding quad bikes around Wheelsby Woods. If that had been anybody else, we would have the police and Operation Yellowfin on them. We didn't, and that's a question that I'm going to ask next week. So it's difficult to deal with transient travellers when they are of that type, and we'd never experienced 3 lots coming in at once. If it's privately owned land, that becomes the landowner's problem. Invariably, it costs a considerable amount of money to actually go and get a court order to remove somebody from their land, and that is something that can take time, and we try and help local landowners when this happens. On council land, I want to reassure you that we need to be tougher, we need to grow, we need to be stronger and deal with these people as they deal with us. The level of debris that was left by them, I wouldn't say I've seen worse, but it was still bad. And a lot of it, we have got our officers to go through and gain evidence of where it's from. One particular load of green waste that had been tipped had paperwork in it from Louth. So we know that they were going outside of the borough to do their work and then coming back and dumping it in the woods. What I will say is thank you to the to officers and our clean-up staff who really did a really good job, and thank you to the public for keeping that particular area open. One of the things that I will say is that we will look at transient traveller sites again in the future, but you try and make them stay there. If anybody's got an idea how to do it, please contact me. I'll welcome you with open arms. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Henry Hudson would like to come in.
Thank you, Michelle. I just think it's worth pointing out to residents that the cost of clearing Wheelsby Woods was £3,600 in disposal costs of the rubbish that the travellers left behind. So when you get your cheap job, all that's going to do is pass the cost on to the council and the ratepayers. I think that's really important to get that message across. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader?
Yeah, just very briefly, just to reiterate the thanks to everybody who was involved in actually dealing with this recent round of visits from travellers and dealing with the aftermath. Just to emphasise, this is not a problem restricted to North East Lincolnshire. Local authorities up and down the country are having similar problems. That's not an excuse, but it's not just us here in North East Lincolnshire. And I can assure residents that we will be undertaking a full review of what happened and how we handled this particular situation, and we will be learning lessons for the future.
Thank you very much. I want to move on to Cleethorpes now, and we've got a question about the regeneration works. I'll say that again. You have spent a considerable amount of money already on the works for Cleethorpes, but plans are being looked into again for Pier Gardens, and a tender has not even been sent out for Marketplace. Is there a time limit for this work to be completed in order that the Levelling Up Fund is given and not withdrawn? And I think that's probably one for Councillor Jackson again, although Councillor Dawkins may want to comment.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. And just to remind everyone that we did get £18.4 million of Levelling Up funding for Cleethorpes, and the 3 projects that are being undertaken are being funded through this grant funding. So first of all, on the new building on Sea Road, which I think everybody will probably have seen the pictures on the council website of what that's going to look like. We are progressing with that. There have been some delays with the delivery of the contract, which not in a position to say any more about at the moment, but we are confident that work will be resuming on that later on this year. With regard to the Pier Gardens, which is a second project, we did issue procurement documentation for this. We had a lot of interest in this project from a number of different potential deliverers, and we had a lot of questions. So we thought it was better to withdraw the documentation, the procurement documentation, respond to all the questions and reissue it, and we're currently at that stage. With regard to the Cleethorpes Marketplace project, the third of the Levelling Up Fund projects, again, we've had extensive consultation with both the public and businesses around the marketplace, and we want to make sure we get this absolutely right. So we're still finalising the highways issues within the marketplace, and then that will be going out to tender. We are confident that work on all three of these projects in Cleethorpes will commence at the end of the current tourist season. So we want to minimise disruption. So we will be starting them in the autumn and the winter, and we're confident that we will complete them within the timescales that we're allowed with the grant funding we've got. So we certainly won't. I certainly will ensure that we do not lose any grant funding that we've got from the government towards these projects.
Thank you. Would you like to come in, Councillor Dawkins?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I mean, it's I back the leader there completely. I mean, it's important that we get these projects off the ground, but we need them to be right, and they've got to be right first time. I think, you know, as a council taxpayer, we've all seen projects that we look back on and go, they were rushed and they weren't right. This is important to get right, and I think with Pier Gardens, you know, there's some fantastic parts of Pier Gardens that I've looked on during the design, which was the skate park, which is going to be a world-class skate park. And you ask anybody that skates, and they'll tell you that, you know, people want to come from all over the countries to visit this one. It's constructed, so it's worth getting it right. And yeah, I'd like to have seen it underway by now, but let's get it right, and it's worth the extra wait. You know, Sea Road. It's unfortunate with Sea Road where we are with that, but again, you know, let's get it right, and the same with Marketplace. You know, there's a little impact to the summer economy is important now because we're just about to hit, and you know, as soon as we can put a spade in the ground, trust me, I'll be there with a spade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to change the focus a little bit, and it's one for Councillor Cracknell, actually. Somebody's mentioned the nurseries, and I don't know whether there's any update you can give on the 3 nurseries, the issues we had. So it was back in 2023, which seems time flies, but I don't know whether you get any updates on those 3 nurseries, Councillor Cracknell.
Certainly the nurseries are always under discussion. There has been significant progress. You will recall that we had considerable dialogue with the 3 settings. All 3 settings re-evaluated what they were offering, particularly in terms of new government guidelines for toddlers being able to access nursery provision. All 3 now are deemed to be viable, both in terms of finance and occupation. And I just pay credit to the 3 different, the 3 senior members of staff at each of those, because they worked considerably hard with our council officers in order to get to the positive position that they're in now. So all credit due. There were concerns, but they have been addressed, and I feel that now potentially there is a good future for all 3 of them.
Thank you very much. That's good to hear. Staying with schools a little bit, actually, but it's more of a Councillor Shepherd one. I think there's a couple of questions about CCTV that have come in live. So one of them around, well, how are you going to tackle unsafe parking around certain schools? Thrunscoe in particular, it's an accident waiting to happen, says this person. And I know we've done a lot of work that you might want to identify. And then we've got another one about, could we have cameras down Burton Avenue, which is not about schools, but they're just talking about motorcycles and mini motos using it as a racetrack. We will send these on to you, so you can see them and take them up. But the comments on those.
Thank you. The ongoing programme of school cameras continues to be deployed across the borough, and we have the next tranche of cameras being set up through Councillor Swinburne's funding, ready for us for the new terms in September. Those cameras that have been deployed outside schools, as an example, Thrunscoe, have had huge results. I haven't got the up-to-date results at hand, but I will get them published. And it's really encouraging to see that in some areas they are having a very, very sharp effect. But in other areas, we're still seeing some levels of abuse of the parking system. We're going through a slight transitional period at the moment, obviously with enforcement. But one of the things that we are looking at is our patrol matrices and what we are able to deliver for the forthcoming school terms. And so it's really important that we get feedback from head teachers, from residents, and from mums and dads of kids that are going to those schools, and where we are seeing reports, and that's how it works. It works on a heat map of how we deploy these cameras due to the number of complaints and the number of events that have taken place. That's what we prioritise for the deployment of a camera. When it comes to a specific area, as an example, Burton Avenue, we have the ability to deploy our rapid deployment cameras. Equally, we also have the ability to deploy with our police colleagues in key areas. There's an operation running called Operation Snap, if you're not aware of it, where you are able to take a photograph, dash cam footage, camera footage from your mobile phone and upload it to Operation Snap. And where the evidence is there, the police will take action against those individuals. That's a very short-term thing. Long-term, what I'd like to see is that we are able to expand the current CCTV capability. It is proving and it's paying dividends. Some of the issues that we've been able to identify using our CCTV system have been really helpful in solving some of the cases, in being able to assist the police, Humberside Fire and Rescue Service and others. And certainly where we've had issues in and around places like Grant Thorrell Park, those cameras have been more and more proven that they're able to identify perpetrators. And where we identify those perpetrators, we will be bringing them to court. So it is successful. It's working. I was in the control room last week, looking at the new improvements that we're going to see across the town centre and in other areas. And I think that as we progress, we will see new technology coming forward, where we'll be able to use better cameras, better positioned, to be able to gather even more evidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. We've got such a mix of questions tonight. We will try and get through as many as we can, but we do promise you that all of the questions will go to the relevant portfolio holders and you will get answers because we've got so many coming in. Going to turn to local government reorganisation now, actually. We've got one question that's come in. What will happen to the town hall when they get their way on the mega council, which I'm thinking is local government reorganisation as opposed to the new combined authority? And we've got another one, with all the councils joining together, will Lincolnshire Council and North East Lincolnshire Council have a new name, and will they all be based on the same site? Also, this particular questioner references social care. They obviously live in Halton-le-Clay and they have to go all the way to Louth, I guess, for social care. And they're saying, would local government reorganisation mean that things like that they could come to Grimsby instead, because we could look at locations rather than councils? But I'll just general update, I guess, Leader. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And they're all very good questions. And the question of what's happening in local government at the moment is very complicated. And I think quite a few elected members are confused by it as well. It's a very complicated and fast moving scene, I think, really. First of all, just to clarify, the current arrangement we've had for the Greater Lincolnshire Combined County Authority with the new elected mayor That's got nothing to do with any aspect of local government reorganisation. The mayor is a new post that brings new powers and new funding from Westminster, from central government to the Greater Lincolnshire area, and under the auspices of the mayor, all the local authorities across Greater Lincolnshire still remain in place and will still continue to undertake their existing duties. Having said all that, the current government has indicated that it wants to look at the potential reorganisation of local government, not just in this area but across the country, and is particularly keen on trying to remove what it sees as a duplication of local government in two-tier areas, like, for example, the Lincolnshire County Council area, where you have a county council and district councils underneath that. Of course, North East Lincolnshire is a unitary authority, so we are responsible for all services. We don't have a district council underneath us, and the same applies to our neighbour North Lincolnshire Council. But the government has made it clear that relatively small unitary authorities like North East Lincolnshire and North Lincolnshire will be potentially part of a Greater Lincolnshire reorganisation if the Lincolnshire County Council area is going to be reorganised. Having said that, nobody knows at the moment what that's going to look like. The councils, the various councils across Greater Lincolnshire have been asked to submit proposals to government. Some preliminary proposals were submitted back in February. In North East Lincolnshire, we didn't submit a particular plan because we're a hung council and the various political groups didn't have agreement on what we thought local government reorganisation across Greater Lincolnshire might look like. So we just submitted the views of our various political groups. The government has come back to us and said that it's still keen to see a plan across the whole of Greater Lincolnshire for potential reorganisation. But again, the various councils are still talking to each other across that geographical footprint, and the various group leaders within North East Lincolnshire are also talking to each other at the moment about what our proposal might look like should we want to submit one. So basically what I'm saying is the whole thing is still up in the air at the moment, and it will be some time before we know what proposals might come forward across the Greater Lincolnshire footprint and what the government's view might be on those. I have to say, I think it's all rather confused at the moment. I don't think the government's really thought this out particularly well, and I'm not really quite sure that they realise that how much they've bitten off, and I don't think they can actually quite chew all they've bitten off with this one. So I think it's just a matter of continuing to watch this space.
Thank you. Deputy Leader, Councillor Stan Shreve would like to come in.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'd just like to come in on the question of adult social care. I do understand the frustration of our near neighbours in Haltney Clay, where their social care is delivered from elsewhere, because if you look at the wider health, there is a significant proportion of the activity at Diana, Princess of Wales, that does come from the southern parts of Lincolnshire. What I would say is that with the advent of Greater Lincolnshire, there's an opportunity for more dialogue, and if both the unitaries involved take a view that the residents of East Lindsey, for instance, might be better served with their social services being provided by North East Lincolnshire, then there's absolutely no reason why the two authorities shouldn't have a discussion on that basis and ensure that the resources and the funding for that is ported to the right place. Now, those discussions are not taking place at the moment, but I can't see any reason why they shouldn't in the future.
I should have said that Councillor Shreve also has responsibilities for adult social care, so thank you for that. Move on to cycling. We've had one live question and actually one submitted, kind of similar, so I'm going to go to Councillor Swinburne. The live one is, will you provide safe cycling infrastructure around the towns? And we had a submitted one saying, will the council consider installing signage across key routes in the area, reminding drivers to give cyclists at least 1.5 metres of space when passing. I'm a cyclist and I've experienced close passes on many roads in the area. Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, thanks very much, Michelle, and thank you very much for the question. But really, the two questions go hand in hand with the response I'd like to give. But first of all, it's thank you, but this is a very important issue. And it's one that I really regularly hear from residents about road safety, especially with cyclists. I absolutely understand the concerns that close passes are frightening and dangerous. Roads that you've actually mentioned in this question, the A16, Peaks Parkway, Victoria Street and others, and around the town centre with the other question, they're all key routes and we want to ensure they're safe for everyone, whether you're on 2 wheels or 4. While the council doesn't directly control all aspects of road signage, particularly on major roads, I'm committed to raising this with our highways officers and seeing whether we can introduce reminder signage in key locations. We can also look at working with Humberside Police and other partners to support existing cyclist safety initiatives, as we've already seen successfully in Hull and other areas. It's also important that we continue promoting awareness campaigns, especially around the highway code changes that require drivers to give cyclists at least 1.5 metres when overtaking. So while some actions may take time or fall under other agencies, I will ensure that I work with officers to explore what's possible locally, whether that's signage, improved road layouts or awareness work. Cyclist safety is not just a transport issue, it's a community safety issue and it deserves our attention. If we can save even one life or prevent one injury through simple awareness signage or better design, it's worth pursuing, and I will make sure that I take that conversation forward with officers. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Councillor Swinburne. I'm going to bunch these all together, and I'm not really sure which portfolio holder wants to answer these, so you might all want to put your hands up. But there's a few questions. Plans for Freeman Street. We've then got, will you stop businesses in Freeman Street selling unregistered cigarettes and tobacco, which I think is probably Councillor Shepherd. And then we've got a general, I'm going to flick down these to live questions coming in. There was a general one about the number of bright lights, vape shops, how many do we need, how many vape shops and things like that do we need? And I know a lot of them are along Freeman Street. So they're the general feeling on what we're going to do with Freeman Street. Why is it turning into vape shops and tobacco registered? So I'm going to start with Councillor Shepherd, sorry, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, Freeman Street is becoming an area that is known for bad parking, for bright lights, for vape shops, for the sale of illegal cigarettes and tobaccos, as well as other activities. It's something that's on our radar, it is on our agenda. And I have again a meeting next week with the police for us to look at some of the issues that are in and around the Freeman Street area. That said, I've had conversations with our officers regarding licensing and the ability for a vape shop or barber to open up. At the moment, there is no license system for them. They can just apply and they are granted planning permission if they have it to open shops. And we're seeing it migrate a little bit as well outside of those areas and into some of our villages and suburbs. So we are looking at ways that we can tackle this. We're looking at ways that we can tackle this with the government, with HMRC, and with our other partner agents. One of the things that's really important, especially important for us, is to ensure that those individuals who are perpetrators or users of those shops are made aware that they have that they are illegal activities that are being carried out. We've noticed very recently with the ban on single-use vapes that there are some shops that are still selling them. They will be dealt with. What I want to do is to start to look at a plan for Freeman Street, and not just Freeman Street, because it's also in St Peter's Avenue, it's also in Immingham, it's in Cleeth, it's in the Willows, we've even got them in Waltham, and so it is all over the borough. I need to look at a plan. It is on our agenda, and it is something that we will tackle again, the same way that we've tackled everything else, robustly, direct. Yeah, no nonsense. They know they're breaking the law, and that's the message that I will get over to people. If you break the law, you will get found and you will be prosecuted. Oops.
Thank you very much. And shall I move on? Oh, we've got the leader. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. I mean, just about Freeman Street in general. I mean, certainly. At some point in the near future, it's a part of the town that we need to pay more attention to from a regeneration viewpoint. But, you know, we have so far been concentrating on Grimsby Town Centre and making sure that we can fully implement regeneration projects within Grimsby Town Centre. Clearly, you know, we don't have an infinite pot of funding, and we've chosen to focus on Grimsby Town Centre. There has been some significant regeneration in Freeman Street. So, for example, we've seen the new YMCA building in Freeman Street, and the YMCA are continuing to invest more money in Freeman Street. We've seen an extremely vibrant market in Freeman Street Market, which again is thriving and seems to be supported by people from across the whole of the Grimsby in particular, and there are quite a number of small niche specialist shops along Freeman Street, excluding the vape shops, of course. We're not referring to those there, but we do need to encourage some of the more specialist businesses, smaller shops as well, that we see springing up in Freeman Street. But you know, there's no doubt that area does have a lot of challenges, and it's an area that we are going to have to look at in the future, and do recognise there's a need for regeneration there.
Thank you very much. Just before I move on to, I think what will probably have to be the final question, because we're already marching towards 7:30. Councillor Shepherd, I think you want to.
Thanks, Michelle. I've just got to apologise because I've got confused between Thrunscoe and Sinehill schools. Maybe it's an age thing, or maybe it's the fact that we've all been busy all day. It just shows how hard we work. But I have had dialogue with Councillor Morland, the local ward councillor, and it is something that again is on our radar for those schools to have cameras. So watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you very much for clearing that up. We've had a few questions actually, which is an interesting one. 3 or 4 comments about diversity in the cabinet. We've had questions saying, why is Councillor Cracknell the only female voice on the cabinet? And that's led to another question about 3 or 4 comments about diversity, but not to mention how, but can we mention how people can get involved with local government and how they encourage anyone to get involved with parish councils and councils? It's quite an interesting question for you all, in actually how you encourage people to come onto the cabinet, a diverse range of people, and how you perhaps decided to give it a go yourselves. Don't know who wants to go with that first, but we'll go for the leader, I think.
Yes, thank you. I suppose as the person who's responsible for choosing the cabinet members, perhaps I should be accountable for this. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing is that I have the best people in my cabinet to do the jobs that we are required to do within local government in North East Lincolnshire, and the majority of the cabinet are sort of men of a certain age, as you probably have noticed as you look around the table this evening, and of course we have got Margaret Cracknell, who's a very valued member of the cabinet and does a great job in children's services. But there's no doubt, ideally, I would like to see a more diverse cabinet, and I think part of that is about trying to attract more women into local government, more younger people into local government, and I think this is a problem that all the political parties have in North East Lincolnshire. and it'll certainly be one that the Conservative Party is focusing on in future elections. So yes, it is an issue, one which I recognise and one which we are trying to ensure that we do improve the diversity of the cabinet. But I would emphasise it's about getting the right people in the right posts to do a good job.
We've got a bit of a queue. We've got Councillor Shepherd and Councillor Shreve. So I don't know who wants to go first.
Thank you. Just very quickly, we hold ward surgeries within our wards. On Saturday, my ward surgery in Scartho, I had 2 individuals come in who are interested in joining local politics. I didn't know their political persuasion. I just encouraged them that if they want to get involved, the best place to start off is here. Come into the municipal offices and to see somebody who will be able to give them the right guidance. But these were younger people, and that's the second lot that I've had in 2 months. So ward surgeries.
Councillor Shreve.
Thank you. In terms of diversity, I would point out that 2 of our regulatory panels and scrutiny panels are chaired by Karen Swinburne and Nicola A. Stork.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Dawkins, Councillor Harness, Councillor Swinburne, and it's 7:30 gone.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, encourage people to stand. I mean, probably 12, 15 years ago, I decided to get involved with a local council because I was pretty miffed off, to be perfectly honest with you, with the crazy paving that we all see in Top Town now that I thought was an absolute disgrace. And when we put speed cameras on Peaks Parkway, I even went down there and measured them and found one of them that was incorrect and got it removed. And that got me into it. And it's, if you want to do something for your community, which is what we're all here for, then that's what you do. You get involved and, you put your stamp on it. You can never criticise for somebody for trying. And I just encourage everyone to come forward and give it a go.
Thank you. Councillor Harness, then Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I just want to emphasise how important parish councils are, certainly to the members. We really appreciate the work that they do. And this morning I was talking to a resident, and he was a resident who I helped with the planning application over the last couple of years. And I just popped in to see him to see how the outcome of this planning application had gone. And he was telling me that until I helped him with this planning application, which meant us going to planning, meant him speaking at planning, which is quite an event for him, and I spoke as well on his behalf. And he said until that moment he was quite ignorant of the work of council, etc., what goes on here. But he did say to me as a parting shot that when he retires, which is not that long off, he will be going to the parish council and he will be looking to join parish council. So I was really pleased with his comment this morning.
Good, thank you very much, Councillor.
Yeah, well, we'll be very brief, Michelle, but just on parish councils again, I don't know, these questions coming up where the locality of the people are within the borough, but what we should be doing is making contact with your local parish council, because there's always vacancies, and that's what they want. They're not fully equipped, these parish councils, with the full commitment of councillors. So you should check with your parish council. There are always vacancies, and that's as far as getting onto the political ladder.
Thank you very much. Just to say thank you very much to all of you. We have got more questions. Riverhead Square, Reform UK Mayor, violence against women and girls and what we're doing, Anglian Water and roadwork coordination. All of these, I know Councillor Swinburne's chomping at the bit to answer that one, but very quickly if you want. And school leavers and skills, Wellhome Road, car parking again, and some pre-prepared questions that we've just run out of time, but we will answer them all. We'll get them all to the portfolio holders and we'll answer them all. So parting shot from the leader, I think. Thank you.
Yes, could I just say thank you very much to everybody who's either sent in questions beforehand or asked questions tonight. We've had a really diverse range of questions, and we're pleased as a cabinet to be in a position where we can try and respond to those questions. You can always contact us by email or by phone. Our details are available on the council website. Please feel free to get in contact as and when you need to. And just a reminder, of course, at full council meetings, members of the public can come along and submit questions at full council meetings as well. So there are a whole range of opportunities for you to hold us to account, but we're pleased tonight to have had the opportunity to talk to you. Thank you very much, and we will be undertaking this again in the future, so we look forward to doing it again.
Thank you.